What's going on, everybody? We're here.
Welcome back.
Week 2. I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
And we're two average guys here to break down week 1 of college football, which was a very long week.
It was like 5 days.
Started Thursday and went through all the way to last night. So actually very exciting. A lot of exciting football.
Yeah.
We got some upsets. We had some close games that probably shouldn't have been close games. So we're going to talk about some of those games today and kind of break down what we saw and what we might see in this next week. So
some good ones coming up this week.
We will talk about Nebraska, but we're going to kind of save that for last.
Okay.
We haven't talked about it too much, so I'm sure we have our own thoughts and opinions. So we'll break that down a little bit and go from there. So let's start with Thursday night. So Thursday night, let's start with Oklahoma State and Tulsa. So Mason Rudolph was 20 of 24. Obviously had a really good game, threw for over 300 yards.
Yeah, I think they kind of pulled the reins back on him and didn't really let him go.
Yeah, and 59 to 24. So, I mean, they killed it. Oklahoma State, I tell you what, it was Mason Rudolph. He had a good year last year. Yeah, we know the biggest thing with Oklahoma State in the Big 12 that we've talked about for the last couple of years, everyone else talks about, is their defense. Mm-hmm. Defense. Now, Tulsa, it's Tulsa, so we can't really tell how their defense does, but they put up 59, they gave it 24. Not too bad for Oklahoma State, and Rudolph looked good. Again, he looked good last year, looked good again on Thursday night.
Yeah, no, I think that they're going to win the Big 12, so we'll see.
Yeah, they have a good chance, definitely. Ohio State, Indiana. Now, this is one that was really, to me, kind of a shocker, and an eye-opener. And a lot of people are like, it's first game, don't look too much into it. But at the same time, you've had so much time to prepare for a team, and you come out and you don't look as good as everyone thinks you are, you're going to get a lot of criticism. Especially for Ohio State, you're going to get a lot of criticism from me.
No, that's true. And, I mean, they ended up winning. I don't remember exactly what the final score was, but
they won decisively.
They won a pretty, by a pretty decent margin. But down at halftime, down in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their quarterback, Indiana's quarterback, I remember we played him last year, and he was pretty decent against us.
Yeah.
He was 40 to 65. I texted you and said, no one needs to throw 65 passes in a game.
No.
But that was really all they could do. They couldn't run. And
well, yeah, the highest rusher was 24 yards on like 16 carries. So that tells you anything. And in the second half, I don't think they really tried to run the ball at all. I think maybe a handful of times in the second half. So really, Indiana, I think if they had an offensive line, because their offensive line was not very good. If you watch Legal in that game, 40 to 65, really not that bad considering the offensive line wasn't good. If he had time to think about where he was going to pass the ball, that's when he was at his worst. It was a one-step drop and pass, and when he did that, he was fantastic. That's where he connected on 40 passes. You look at Simi Cobbs, Hale, and Timian, their wide receivers. They had tight ends that could catch the ball, that could run. I mean, Cobbs had 11 catches for 149 yards. That's impressive. And the guy, not only is he tall, he can jump, making a lot of catches over these Ohio State defenders that, they got him saying, hey, they're some of the best defenders in college football. Well, Indiana made them look like they're like the Nebraska defense, if you want to make a comparison, but really, you can't really fault the Ohio State defenders as much as you can give props to the Indiana offense and the play calling. You can only do that so much before it doesn't work. And I think that's what happened in Indiana.
Right. And, that young running back for Ohio State looked pretty good.
Yep.
He was fast, but he got a little gassed a couple times.
Yeah, so Dobbins, I watched him run a play. 29 rushes, 181 yards. So he's averaging, 6+ yards a carry. Pretty decent game for a freshman running back. He's only playing because Weber's hurt. Weber's eventually going to come back, but will he have a spot? They'll find a spot for him, but is he going to be the starter? I don't know.
It was kind of funny, though. They showed him gassed on the sidelines after
more than once. Yeah, I think he ran like a 24-yard run. He gets over the sidelines just about to break down. He was just gassed. But no TD, so I think he's a ground and pound runner. I think you put him in the goal line. He could have had a couple more TDs, but they really want JT Barrett to shine again this year. Urban Meyer thinks he's Heisman contender and he's going to win the Heisman. He's thought that the last couple of years. Barrett was 20-35. He didn't have a bad game.
No, that's not bad.
304 yards, 3 TDs, I believe. But really, what I saw in that game was JT Barrett just very lackadaisical, did not really have a lot of energy. When it didn't look like it, you see a leader on the field kind of pumping up his team. I didn't really see that a lot out of him. And what I noticed was Ohio State, I don't think they're going to, for one, I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten. I don't think they will. And I think they're going to lose at least 2 or 3 games this year. And the only reason why I say that is because they had a horrendous start. Yes, Indiana had a decent team, but there's no way it probably should have gone down the way it did in the first half. You can say all you want. They pulled away in the second half. It was a dominating win, like everyone on ESPN is saying, like Kirk Herbstreit is saying. To me, it wasn't dominating. If nothing else, is Indiana just had nothing left, for one, in the tank, and two, they don't have a run game or an offensive line, so that killed them. Anybody with a run game and an offensive line and any decent chance of a defense is going to put up a fight and potentially beat Ohio State. They're going to run for their money.
Better watch out for Penn State, Ohio State, because they looked pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that a little later, but they got Oklahoma next week, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, that's true. We will talk about that. That's going to be a tough one for them next week.
Washington and Rutgers, so not really.
That was on Friday night.
Not really a game on Friday night. Not a game I thought we'd be talking about. But for the longest time, Rutgers they were winning for a while, and they actually played really well. I mean, I never thought I'd say Rutgers played really well.
I was cheering for them. I mean, it's kind of funny because I thought, the 2 worst, maybe not worst teams overall, but 2 of the worst teams that we played last year were Rutgers and Maryland, and Rutgers held pretty tight in that one against a team that went to the playoff last year, and then Maryland, obviously, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, Washington, I mean, they come in at number 8. Thanks, Donnie, agreeing with the Ohio State. It was a lot closer, and no one really thought it'd be close. And it is what it is. I mean, Ohio State, yeah, they pulled away, but no one thought Indiana even had a chance against them. Even though Indiana last year actually almost beat them.
Right.
It should have beat them last year. So they came up with a chip on their shoulder. That's probably why they played so well. But Washington, number 8. Number 8 versus an unranked Big Ten Rutgers, who knows the last time they actually had a decent win, let alone a win against a top 10 team. But Washington, I'm not impressed at all. I'm surprised they're even in the top 15 still with how they played. But they won 30-14. I guess they're gonna say, hey, a win's a win.
Yeah, and they moved them up a spot. I'm not really sure how that works.
Not only did they stay in the top 15, they moved up from 8 to 7. So
which it doesn't really matter, I guess. But
it doesn't. Rankings, once again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Wisconsin, Ohio, Utah State. So once again, Wisconsin. That was the first game on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin, Utah State.
Or was that Friday night? I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Either way, so Wisconsin, they pulled away late. So this kind of seems to be the story of a lot of these teams that shouldn't have been close with some of these other teams. They were down 10-0 for a while against Utah State, and then they ended up blowing away, I think, 59-10. So
it was 59-10.
They really did destroy them, but really, once again, not a great start for Wisconsin. But you know what happened is their run game came back.
Right.
They didn't really run the ball great. Utah State came out firing all cylinders, and Wisconsin came out a little rusty. So I don't think Wisconsin had anything to worry about going in, the next few weeks. But I think they had some concern in that first half where they just weren't really. They weren't kicking in high gear, but that run offense really, really played well.
It's tough the first week, guys getting their feet under them and playing game speed.
Mm-hmm.
So not a surprise that some teams have, were down early. But
now, probably biggest surprise. Biggest surprise
was the biggest
Maryland. Or actually, there's 2 big surprises. So, so Maryland beats Texas 51-41
at Texas.
In Texas. So that was fantastic. For one, we've never been Texas fans, never been Big 12. Even when we were in the Big 12, always hated Texas.
Oh, for sure.
And here's the deal: Maryland played lights out. I mean, I've never seen Maryland play football that well. So that was actually pretty fun to watch. I watched most of that game. And Texas, they just didn't have what Maryland had. They couldn't keep up. They just couldn't match them.
They both had a blocked field goal taken back for a touchdown. It's just like,
Yeah,
it's a weird game.
It was a really weird game, but for Texas to lose, so here's the thing with Texas. They were 4-8 last year.
Yeah, they're not gonna turn around and be a 10-2 team.
What were they, 23 to start the season? They were in the top 25.
Yeah, they're 23rd.
So to have them in the top 25 after a losing season, which is kind of what we talked about last week, and we continue to talk about, is we get these teams that get put in these rankings when they don't really deserve it. You got even Georgia and LSU, who did not have good years last year, and USC, for God's sakes, they had 4 losses last year, and you get these teams that get ranked in these ridiculous places, and it's not worth it because, I'm sorry, Herman is not going to be able to turn the team around in
not
a year.
that fast. He's going to turn them around for sure, but
maybe.
I think he probably will, but not that fast.
And so Jason just commented at Texas, they can't get recruits. And it's the same thing. Him and I kind of chatted last week about the same thing with the Huskers. We're not a power team anymore like we used to be, so it's that much harder to get recruits. And it sucks to even say that, but Texas is the same way. When was the last time they were a powerhouse team?
They've got Texas A&M's in the ACC, or is in the SEC. They've got TCU that's now in the Big 12. That's been a better program than them for the better part of 5 or more years.
And so is Oklahoma, and honestly, Oklahoma State has been better than them.
Oklahoma State's way better too.
So Texas is not getting the recruits that they used to get. I think it's hurting them. So it's really interesting to watch that. Not to say they can't get the recruits. Herman might be able to get some people, but it's not going to be this year one for Herman.
Right,
so,
exactly. But it was still great to watch.
It was a fun game to watch in general, but seeing Maryland beat a team like Texas, just because Texas is still Texas, it was pretty entertaining to watch. Penn State absolutely destroyed Akron. So Penn State, Big Ten, they're going to be playing Ohio State. I think they're not only a contender to win the Big Ten, but a contender, once again, to be in a playoff spot
where
they were last year.
They should have been in last
year.
So
they have an opportunity to really show their worth this year, and it should be really fun to see.
I think so.
And I don't know, I'm interested in watching Penn State. Last year, they surprised me last year, so
for sure.
Very excited to watch them.
We have to go play them out of Penn State, so hopefully we figure out some defense before that.
Yeah, hopefully we figure out a lot of things before that, including defense and just how to beat them and play a complete game. Michigan, they beat Florida. I mean, to me, not really a huge story. Once again, Florida, one of those teams that is in the rankings.
They're always good on defense, and they always suck on offense.
Yeah, and they lost 33-17. So once again, they gave up 33 points. Michigan didn't look bad at all. Michigan actually played pretty well.
Pretty decent.
It was tight for a while.
They threw back-to-back pick sixes. That was really the only time of the game that Florida had a shot, and those were the only touchdowns that they scored.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, the Michigan played a pretty solid offense, solid on defense, and it was all-around good game for them. So, once again, it's still a lot to see left with the Michigans and the Floridas, those teams that they think are high and mighty. It's still week 1, so whether they move them up or down or out of the top 25 into the top 25, really we won't know a lot until we see a few more games into the season and see will they continue the trend they've started. Will teams like Washington continue to struggle? Will Wisconsin have slow starts? Ohio State? What are we going to see moving forward? USC. USC, I wasn't impressed with them at all. They won 49-31.
It was 31-31 at one point.
It was. And this was Western Michigan. So Western Michigan, once again, not ranked. Doesn't matter.
They were undefeated last year in the regular season.
Last year, which is funny that they're not ranked this year, considering they went undefeated last year. But
they didn't even really rank them until like the last 2 weeks of the playoff rankings.
So all bets aside, Western Michigan still a solid team, but USC was at what, number 4? So USC was at number 4, and they moved up to number 3.
No, it's a PBR. No, the beer is a Busch Light.
We are not drinking Pedialyte.
Anyway, sorry that threw me off.
Anyways, but USC, once again, not really that impressed with them. Still early on, not to say they're not a good team, but we'll see.
And I think that their quarterback, he's a Heisman contender, and my brother-in-law Jason, he is a USC fan, and he was down at the game. He was down at the Nebraska game, so he didn't really get to watch it until he rewatched it on Sunday. And I saw him, and he said, "I know why." It's because he didn't throw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And he said that any of the long plays they had or passes that he threw, it was like down inside the 10, and then they just ran it in.
Yeah.
But
USC,
we'll see.
USC is the greatest thing since sliced bread, according to him. So, okay, Louisville really struggled with Purdue. They only beat them by a touchdown.
I was surprised.
Louisville, once again, they had a good year last year, but Purdue, I'm more surprised by Purdue than anything else.
That might make me a little bit more nervous for playing at Purdue.
Yeah,
than
not
normally
really,
would.
not really shocked by Louisville, but more impressed by Purdue to play as well as they did against a team last year who potentially was going to be in the playoff if they would have beaten Clemson. So it makes things a little more interesting going into the rest of the season. How is Louisville going to do moving forward? They were ranked 16, I believe. Purdue, another Big Ten team, not ranked, but coming out playing strong. So that was entertaining to watch and see some of the highlights on that film as well and go back and forth between Purdue and other games. And Purdue really gave them a run for their money. So once again, maybe a team in the Big Ten that people aren't thinking about that maybe they should start planning a little more.
Got a good quarterback. But, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they're not super good.
Yeah, hopefully not. So Alabama, FSU. So this was one of those games where you can always talk about Alabama defense, how they're going to play, because that's their strong point. Their offense is not that strong. They put up 24 points.
Right.
We know that Hurd, Jalen Hurts. We know his arm is not his strength. So they're not going to throw a high passing percentage. They're not going to throw the ball a ton. They're going to rely on the run game and their defense. That's what they do. In Florida State, they usually rely on their offense to win games more than they do their defense, even though their defense is usually pretty strong. So this game, they just didn't have enough offense. They got a blocked field goal at the end of right at the end of the first half that would have tied it going into the half. So really a lot of things that I think Florida State will look back. And Francois is hurt now.
He's out for the season. They're still having Florida State as a top 10 team. I guess maybe since they didn't give up that many points to Alabama.
Yeah, but here's kind of the funny thing. You look at, once again, the rankings that we all hate. They dropped from 3. They lost to a number 1.
They dropped to 10.
They dropped to 10.
I know, that is
late in the season. If you're at like number 3, number 4, and you lose to a number 1 or number 2,
you don't move.
So why are you moving 7 spots when you lose to a number 1 team first week of the season?
I guess the only reason that they did that was because their quarterback got hurt. But still, I don't.
Yeah, so I don't know. I find that kind of funny, but I don't think Florida State's going to do much this year without Francois. I don't know what their backup quarterback can do. So time will tell. Last game, Liberty. Take it away, Jimmy.
So Liberty knocked off Baylor. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. So Baylor, once again, a Big 12 team with a lot of firepower.
Yeah, I know they had a lot of transfers and recruits decommit and stuff like that, and that's what happens when you have a pretty serious
coach who cheats.
You have some pretty serious business go down here with your program. So, no, that's great. Turner Gill, Liberty's coach. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then the other one that was kind of cool was that Howard knocking off.
Yeah, Howard was a 45 point
underdog
and ended up winning 43-41, I believe. So they ended up winning, which anybody who bet on Howard,
biggest.
That's a big money.
Yeah, that was the highest
biggest comeback.
Point spread.
Yeah,
it was the highest point spread that somebody actually won, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was fun. Virginia Tech beat West Virginia 31-24.
Kind of surprised by that one.
A little surprised, but really neither of these teams I'm not that interested in because we know that neither of those two teams are going to be up towards the top and in a playoff at the end of the year.
West Virginia was close last year. They had a pretty good year last year. I thought that they would win. That's a pretty big rivalry game. But
it is, and I didn't get to see any of that. But the other big game, Tennessee Georgia Tech, was last night. So,
well, hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night, Texas A&M, UCLA.
Oh yeah. Once again, neither of those teams are going to be a contender. So it was a big comeback.
How do you lose when you're up 44-10? 4 minutes left in the
that's pretty bad. And you can talk about Rosen, you can talk about UCLA, you can talk about how A&M blew it, and Mike Sumlin's now on the hot seat. He's been on the hot seat for a few years now since Manziel left. So
true.
So really, to me, I don't like either of those teams. Yeah. I think Rosen is a douchebag.
I don't like UCLA's coach.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was a great comeback, no doubt.
Yeah. I'm just kind of surprised.
And really, A&M blew that game. They really did. There's no reason they should have lost that game. So,
but yeah, sorry.
Tennessee, Georgia Tech. So 42-41. Game was last night. Here's my thoughts on Georgia Tech. They were the better team. The entire game. The better team. Tennessee, not too impressed except for the comeback. So yes, they were down. This is funny. They were down the entire game, but not by a lot. They were always within striking distance. If you guys were listening to the game, they kept talking about how if they can mount a comeback, as if it was going to be a huge comeback. My only thought was, no, it's not a huge comeback. Their defense started to play pretty well, started to play better, started to stop Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech beat themselves with the fumbles. They had a couple turnovers that led to points for Tennessee. That really killed them.
And then, really, they went for the win.
Well, and to me, they probably should have gone for the win in the first overtime.
Right.
Instead of waiting for the second overtime to go for it.
It was tough because I didn't love the play call that they had on the 2 point, but pretty much everything was working for them. So I was bummed. I don't like Tennessee at all. And
they're a team that's ranked that probably shouldn't be ranked. Plain and simple, they're not that good. They weren't that good last year. So Georgia Tech was impressive. I thought they were fun to watch. The triple option. Anybody that has to play against triple option, gotta help you.
Yeah, if you're good at it, then yeah.
And Georgia Tech had over 500 rush yards.
I don't know how you don't.
The quarterback set a record for quarterback rushing yards, and I think rush yards in general for a Georgia Tech player.
They could give some ACC teams some pretty big fits this year.
Yeah, look at the teams like Notre Dame that they play. They always give them fits. I don't know if they play them this year.
I don't know if they play them. We'll have to look.
But anytime they do, they always give them a hard time because that triple option is so hard to defend. It's so hard to practice for that, and especially when you're as good as a team like Georgia Tech. That's all they do.
Well,
that's all they practice
and for. Honestly, when their quarterback dropped back to pass, he was throwing some pretty good balls.
Yeah.
So it was pretty tough because you run, and then put one over the top down the middle, and they were doing that. But
they probably could have done it more too, and actually had more success.
Probably could have.
But really, you saw the run game for the running back, that number 30. I can't remember his last name now, but he was fantastic. Marshall, the quarterback, fantastic. Really, the Georgia Tech as a team played really well. And I thought it was fun to watch. Even though Tennessee won, I didn't want them to win. The game was entertaining, and it kept me up at night. I was really tired at work today. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
But it was fun to watch. So hopefully more of that this upcoming weekend when we have even more games to watch. So let's talk. Let's talk about the games next week, and then we'll always revert back to Nebraska last because that sometimes can take the longest to talk about. So we'll talk about Nebraska, Oregon too. But upcoming games, we got Iowa State. Iowa State. I was a 4-point favorite.
2.5.
2.5.
According to ESPN, just before.
According to ESPN, so 2.5 point favorite. So Iowa, not an extremely impressive win. But they won.
That Wyoming quarterback is supposed to be like a first rounder, and
dude, Wyoming gives Nebraska a hard time every year too when we play them.
Yeah,
so
and they only scored 3 points. So Iowa's defense obviously played pretty well. They had a new quarterback. They have Whaley in the running back, and he's good. So
yeah, and Iowa, once again, their defense is always their strong point. Offense is not always their strongest, but they won the game once again. Week 1, you look at a win against a team like Wyoming, who you can't sleep on because you know that they're going to be...
And they have a quarterback that's supposed to go in the first round. And he's pretty good. We played him last year.
Oh, yeah.
And he tore us up for 3 quarters.
So, a lot of teams tear us up for that.
That's true, but... no, I don't really know anything about Iowa State.
No.
But, what do you say?
Better firm up.
So...
Yeah, I don't know. I think Iowa's going to win. I don't think it's really going to be much of a game. 2.5. Iowa State. Well, Iowa State won.
I think they did, but it's for whatever reason it's always a close game. Even when Iowa State goes like 3-9 and Iowa goes 12-0.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
I kind of like how they do that right off the bat. Every year. So
kick it off with a rival.
And it's at 11, so it's the first game. It's great.
It is. All right. So Auburn, Clemson. So You got number 13 and number 3.
Auburn dropped a spot.
Rankings aside,
Clemson went up 2.
Clemson went up a couple spots. Clemson opening weekend. Clemson looked good.
They did. They looked better than I thought they would.
Auburn, to me, shouldn't even be ranked. At least maybe in the top 25 now if you're going to put a ranking on them. But they were ranked 15 or something to start the season, 14.
No, they were ranked 12.
They were 12? Oh, they dropped a spot. So either way, they didn't have a really good year
flip-flopped them and LSU for whatever reason.
And both teams suck. So Auburn, Clemson, it's just an interesting game because you got 2 ranked teams. When you got rankings out there, it makes a lot of difference. So if Auburn beats Clemson, Clemson's going to be dropping and Auburn's going to be jumping up no matter what. So
they're going to jump way out.
But then again, you got teams that are going to move around a lot, including Auburn when they start losing games. Georgia, Notre Dame. So Georgia lost their quarterback. He's not going to be playing. He's out for the season, I believe.
No, they said
indefinitely.
No, they said Kirby Smart, the Georgia coach, said that he would be back sometime this year.
Coaches always like to hide stuff too, so we'll see. We'll get the injury report and kind of figure out what's going on.
I think they're because they played Appalachian State. And, I think their freshman quarterback maybe came in and didn't do too bad. So you never know. It's at Notre Dame. They snuck Notre Dame into number 24.
They did.
Maybe just so they had 2 top 25 teams playing each other. Who knows?
But also Notre Dame.
Their quarterback looked pretty good. I watched a little bit.
Pretty good. Now Pootie's not impressed.
He's not with their quarterback.
No,
or
he's
the
not.
Team?
He's not impressed with the quarterback. For some reason.
I guess I was watching more of Michigan and Florida at that point.
But I thought Notre Dame quarterback played really well. So
when I watched it, he looked pretty decent.
I thought he looked pretty decent. So they have a lot of young talent at Notre Dame. No, they're not a contender for a championship. Anybody that's a Notre Dame fan out there, but that could be a good game. Jason's saying by a free throw, just like 1 free throw or 2, I don't know, but I think Notre Dame wins. I think they're gonna win probably by at least a touchdown, but I don't think it's gonna be much more. I'm
never really high on Georgia. They're always decent, but never
they're
like.
SEC.
Yeah, then SEC East, they should probably win that every year, but especially because they have really good recruiting every year. But I don't know, they're never as good as they're supposed to be.
All right, Stanford USC, so number 14 versus number 6. So
it's a good one. I like that.
That could be a pretty interesting game. It could be fun to watch. Stanford's always fun to watch. They opened up pretty big. This last weekend, and they had a pretty decent win. I know their running back looked really good. I believe they had a return kick for a touchdown or a punt. There's actually a lot of really good special teams plays this weekend.
They've already played 2 games, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because they played that.
They played the opening week, the weekend before. So I think Stanford USC. I think Stanford's going to give USC a run for their money. I think Stanford might win that game.
That could be like a last possession. Was going to win type of game.
Yep. That's going to be fun. Oklahoma and Ohio State. Here's what I think.
5 and number 2.
Here's what I think you start talking about Ohio State's defense again and how they looked against Indiana. Now, we all know Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. We know he's a good quarterback. We know he can throw the ball. Yes, I still don't like the guy, but he's got talent. They have talent on their wide receiver core. They have a talented offensive line, and their defense is pretty good. So Ohio State would struggle against Indiana, who no offensive line, no run game, and a mediocre quarterback who has to do a one-step drop to throw the ball and actually complete a pass. Now they got Baker Mayfield to deal with, and the offensive line, and their wide receivers, and their defense. This is going to be a true test for Ohio State and a true test for Oklahoma because
for sure, especially since last year Ohio State went into Norman, kicked their butts.
Yeah.
And so but now they have to go back. They have to go play at Ohio State. It's not easy to play there.
No, it's not easy to play on the road, no matter what team you are, where you're playing. Playing on the road at a Power 5 school is never going to be easy. But going to the Horseshoe is not going to be
it's going to be tough.
A walk in the park for OU. I think that could be a good game, too. We got some good games coming up this weekend.
I think that's going to be a coin flip game. I don't know who I would pick.
I'm picking Oklahoma, mainly because I really don't like Ohio State. But after
I'll do the same. I don't like Ohio State.
New coach for Oklahoma. I like the way
that's
they
the
came
other
out
thing,
last
man.
weekend. You just don't know. No more Stoops.
Yeah, Baker is
he
pretty good.
Stoops fudged up.
I know that they talked so much about Baker last year.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of was annoying, but
yeah,
I think Yeah, I don't know. I think Oklahoma could go in there and beat them.
They could.
I think that could be another one possession game, last possession game type of thing.
All right, so let's talk about Nebraska. So
do we have to?
It gets my blood boiling a little bit, but I've had a few days to think about it now. So it's Tuesday. They played Saturday night. I had Sunday, Monday to think about it. I watched some baseball. I watched some other football. Had some time to really sit down and think, and this could really apply to a lot of teams out there. So not only do we have a new defense coordinator in Diaco,
right?
We have a brand new defense that he brought with him, a 3-4 defense.
Right.
Not the players for a 3-4 defense, but he brought a new defense with him. So, yes, we've had time to prepare, but also you look at Arkansas State, they're a hard team to prepare for.
Right.
Because they can do so many different things. They can go left, they can go right, they can go north, they can go south. East, west, north, south. They can go all over the place. You just never know where they're going to throw the ball and how it's going to work out for how do you defend it. They can go downfield, and they can go downfield far. That quarterback was really good.
Quarterback was good. I think as a team, they're not going to be as good as Oregon is going to be this weekend.
No.
But their quarterback might be better than what Oregon's got. I know they scored 77 points, but
it's a different style,
right.
A different way they play the game.
It was difficult to watch. It was like we didn't want them to go deep on us, so we just let them get 10 yards, and it's like, well, if they get 10 yards on this play, and then they get 10 yards on the next play, before you know it, they're in, the red zone. Although I did hear an interesting statistic. They only scored on 60% of their red zone trips.
Okay.
And that was, if the season ended today, that would be the best in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we got an interception.
Our red zone D was pretty good.
And we stopped him at the end of the game.
Red zone isn't what hurt us. It was everything else. So it was the sweep passes. It was
That's all they did.
Yeah, they did it over and over again.
It's like a dink over here and a dunk over there.
And so I guess what frustrated me the most about that game is at half, we're winning at half. But we didn't go second half. We didn't come out with any adjustments on defense.
Right.
We didn't change anything.
They played a little bit better, but they didn't change anything.
We didn't change it. We were still giving them 7-8 yard cushions at the line. And
it didn't make any sense.
And so, and anybody can weigh in on this too, but what happened to the bump and cover? What happened to I'm going to jam you at the line? You got 5 yards. You have 5 yards to be able to put your hands on a player and jam them at the line.
And we weren't. It's not like we were like bringing pressure or anything.
But nobody does it. There's not a college football team that I can think of right now off the top of my head that does a bump and cover or jam them at the line, whatever you want to call it, on defense. They don't do it. You know why? Because more and more people are getting burned downfield, and so many teams are afraid of that. But at that point, that's why you have a safety. That's why you have linebackers. Linebackers need to be able to cover wide receivers, cover running backs, cover the tight ends, and you rely on your safeties to cover the guys going downfield.
Right.
The corners can release, safety covers, corners cover the guy cutting out low. But you don't see it as much. And it's hard with a 3-4 defense to get pressure on a quarterback unless you bring a corner blitz or a linebacker blitz. We didn't do a lot of that.
No, like we did like once and we got a sack. And it was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't we been doing that more? But I mean, I think Kalu played pretty good at safety. I mean, I think our safeties actually played pretty well. Gifford, linebacker, played pretty well. I just think that we just didn't bring enough. I don't know if it was like. I talked to a couple people. Like, did we just not want to show too much to Oregon? But it's like.
You don't want to lose.
Yeah, maybe. But you also, like, when it got down to it, they still had my dad, he's on the sidelines for the games. Mm-hmm. He said, he's like, if it would have gone to overtime, it would have been pretty exciting. And I said, it wouldn't have gone to overtime. If they would have scored, they probably would have gone for 2, and they probably would have gotten it. Yeah. They would beat us.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing. Special teams was a little rocky.
So was theirs.
Give up a punt return for a touchdown. Yeah. Then we come back with a kickoff return. J.D. Spielman looks fantastic.
The punt return that they got, we overcommitted to one side.
Well, the problem is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Whatever.
I was talking to somebody about it. They're like, when people fumble on the punts, you like break contain. Oh, yeah. You like go to the ball, and then they pick the ball up, and all you have to do is stick your foot in the ground and make it and go.
We lost outside,
and that's exactly what happened.
And Spielman, he's a fast dude.
He's fast.
So, bright side of Nebraska, yeah, the defense was rocky, but I'm not giving up on them.
It was the first game.
It was first game, just like a lot of teams.
Like you said, that's a tough. It's not saying that like
It's
Arkansas State's gonna go on and
it's hard to simulate
win
that.
out
It's hard to simulate that in practice. Like even the announcers you can't simulate this at practice very well. It's really hard, but still, defense needs to improve going into Oregon. They put up 77 points. We have a long ways to go on defense, but new defense, 3-4, new defense coordinator. Maybe he needs to be on the field.
That drives me nuts. I don't even want to get into it.
But 3-4, we needed that to find out what twist do we need to make in that defense to make it better.
Well, and their quarterbacks threw the ball 68 times. I mean,
jeez Louise, yeah. Our rush defense is good.
They are.
10 times we saw them run the ball.
And the guys up front are like good. They're gonna be really good.
Offense. Tanner Lee, transfer from Tulane. He's on the field this year. My God, I was excited not only about Tanner Lee but about Spielman. One fast dude. You got Pearsonell. He's healthy. You got
Stanley Morgan's great. He got over 100 yards.
Reimers he's got some work to do, but he's good.
I think he's battling.
He's like third tight end.
And I think he's battling an injury. Tyjon Lindsey, he only caught like 1 or 2 passes.
Lindsey's solid.
But he looked pretty quick, so he's gonna be, and he's a freshman, so he's gonna be pretty good too.
Nebraska's got a couple tight ends, and Trey Bryant. Yeah. Trey Bryant. Not only do we have Trey Bryant, who, for one, this is the first year I can remember over the last few years that we've had one running back play an entire game.
And it was weird because
Wilbon came in for two plays, but in one of them was a pass to him, and the other one I think he was in there blocking, but
he was in for 3 because I think he caught a pass and he rushed for 2 because he rushed for a touchdown.
That's right. Okay.
But
we still have Zigbo.
It was weird because they said that when the depth chart came out that it was all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I just figured they'd just roll through them.
They said
see who did better.
They said they split time.
And Zigbo didn't even play. He might have got on for either a special teams or maybe a snap or 2.
Never saw him in the backfield.
But he never ran. He never had a run.
He was in the backfield once.
And they were talking about on the radio today. Zigbo had a pretty good game against Oregon last year.
Zigbo had a hell of a year last year.
Until he got hurt.
Yeah.
But he ran a lot. He ran through Oregon pretty solid. So maybe he'll get some carries this week. But Trey Bryant looked pretty good.
It's hard to bench Trey Bryant or not give him the amount of carries he had last week. He had a solid game. I'm excited more for our offense.
Tanner Lee looks like an actual quarterback when he drops back.
When was the last time we had a quarterback that could drop back and throw a pass on the fly when the guy's running and it lands in his freaking
Not for the last
hands.
7 years because we had Martinez for 4.
Martinez and Armstrong.
When Martinez's senior year was up, Tommy took over, so we had that for the last 4 years.
And then we had was it Zach Lee before that?
Oh God.
And who was the same? Who was on the team with Zach Lee? I can't remember.
He ended up transferring.
Yeah,
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
but either way, we
Cody
have
Green.
Cody Green, but we have a quarterback who can read the field, read the defense, and when he gets in trouble, what does he do? Throws it away. He doesn't give the defense a chance. He puts it to where his guys can catch the ball.
You're right.
It's exciting to watch.
The touchdown pass, the long touchdown pass that he threw to Stanley Morgan. For one, I don't think that they wanted to show that. Because that's something that we'll probably do against.
But we got 4 guys who can do that.
He had maybe 3 or 4 of those passes the whole game. 2 of them, he overthrew the guys into out of bounds, which was fine because that was the right play. It was, hey, we're not going to keep him in.
Touche. So
yeah, I guess so.
Andrew, it's true. And I love the ground and pound game. And
so do I. I love to run the ball.
And that's why I love that we still have 3 running backs who can run the ball because everyone is capable. Wilbon's capable. Ozigbo, we all are. But to have a quarterback can go back and confidently throw a pass without being Hail Mary 500. Let's play a game of 500.
Yeah, I think that's what
There's no mystery boxes being thrown up. I mean, that he's going to throw a hard strike.
It's not like it was in the 90s where we just ran over everybody and we were always winning. Now, especially in the Big Ten, you're going to have some hard-fought games that are going to come down. You're going to be losing and you're going to have to come back. And over the last few years, Tommy, I liked Tommy. Like, he could, if he needed to, he could just run around everybody. but when you needed him to drop back and throw a pass, he couldn't do it.
He didn't know how to pass the ball properly. But Tanner Lee looks good. Running backs look good. Wide receivers look good. There's a lot to look forward to on the offensive side. Defensive side has to really sheer it up going into Oregon. At Oregon, which we're going to see what happens because right now air quality is so poor from the fires in Montana, and we got poor air quality here in Nebraska from those fires too. So we'll see what happens with that game. Something to keep an eye out for as far as air quality and what they're going to do for the game.
Saturday morning they'll make a decision. It's up to the universities whose teams are playing. Yep. They could try to play it later or the next day or.
I gotta tell you though, I'm worried. I'm not excited about this weekend because I know Oregon, 77 points.
They played Southern Utah, but still.
But still, that means they're capable on offense, and I hope we can go in there. I hope our defense really, like I said, kind of toughens up and really watches tape on Oregon and figures out what they can do to defeat them. Because anybody that watches tape on Nebraska against Arkansas State, they're gonna know, hey, we can do this, this, and this, and we're gonna beat them all day.
Right. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, but
yes, absolutely. So
yes, absolutely.
More touches for them, and we got speed, a lot of speed out there. So we could bring the game to Lincoln.
That would be better.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. I don't know what would happen, but I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for not only the offense but the defense. Once again, new defense. A lot of teams are working with new coaches. You're looking at Texas. They got a new coach. They got new coaches. A lot of things to look forward to. Oklahoma, new coach. We got new coaches. We'll see. Beginning of the season, I thought it was a very fun opening weekend. A lot of games. I watched as many as I possibly could.
Right.
I stayed up late last night to watch teams I don't care about, but it was fun to watch, and I was texting like 3 people during the game just to. It was exciting. It's fun to talk about, and that's why once again we're here this year. So next weekend's going to be fun. I think we got a lot to look forward to this weekend. A lot of good games. A lot of ranked teams playing ranked teams.
You're right. You gotta cover the swing pass on defense.
Yeah, swing pass. Yeah, we know that.
One thing that was weird, and I was at the game, so I didn't really know at the time what happened, but. At the end of the first half, they didn't have any timeouts, and they threw a pass over the middle that was caught, and there was 3 seconds. Yes, they stopped the clock to move the chains and, position the ball or whatever. Well, they just blew the whistle, and then they let their kick team come out, and then they let them line up and kick a field goal. And it was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And being there, you don't know what's going on, because when you're watching on TV, they're like, oh, there was a equipment issue, which is what it was. But it was an equipment issue for Arkansas State. That's a 10-second runoff.
Yeah.
They should have.
It should have been
end of the first.
Because they didn't have any timeouts, so they couldn't take a timeout
It was a 10-second runoff.
Take away the runoff. So runoff.
BS.
They should have been able to kick one.
It actually could have made a difference in the game.
It really could.
But
well, and here's the thing too. Like watching that replay, it's one thing if it just comes off, but if you watch the replay after the guy catches the ball. You see his hand go up. He lifts his helmet. It might have been unstrapped, but he lifted it up off his head, which is it's a penalty. You're taking your own helmet off. But they weren't obviously they can't replay that. But the replay that showed it looked like it. Either way, Nebraska wins. A lot of the teams won that should have won. We had some good upsets in week 1, or technically week 2, if you will. Next week's going to be exciting. Just in a few days here. So we'll be back. It's not going to be Tuesday this next week. We'll be back on Sunday to cover Saturday games. We'll get back on our regular schedule. Potentially, we've talked about doing Saturday mornings, talking about kind of hyping up the games prior to the start, even if it's a quick little shout out. So
you'd rather listen to us than those guys on game day.
Yeah, who wants to listen to Kirk Herbstreit, suck on Ohio State the entire?
And by the way, Desmond Howard, they just keep showing videos of him.
By the way, Kirk Herbstreit should never ever be allowed to do an Ohio State game.
I know.
Ever. Who the hell decided that was a good idea? Every time, no matter what was happening in the game, all he could talk about was Ohio State. Indiana was winning the game. Ohio State this, Ohio State that. JT Barrett this, JT Barrett that. Let me tell you what. Get him off that. Let him commentate any game except for Ohio State because he is awful. Really, Big Ten in general. It's awful.
Was that last night? that his kid was there and they
God,
had
he
him on
was
the
terrible.
field and they were
Yeah.
throwing passes to him. I'm like, come on,
terrible.
man.
He might be a great father. I'm sure he's a great father. Sure, he's probably a great dude in general. But as a commentator, you never find a guy that's more biased in college football than Kirk Herbstreit. And I've never liked the guy from a college football standpoint ever.
If he likes a team, then that's all he talks about. If he doesn't, then
runs with it. But here's the thing: you get that's ESPN in general. That's why we have the rankings. That's why they come out before the week. They already have bowl projections after week 1.
I know. I saw that this
playoff
morning.
Projections. Stop it. Just get it out. We don't.
You know what they had on there for a bowl projection? Georgia Tech versus Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they
I'd
played.
love to see that
They
rematch.
played a good game, but come on. And there was some I saw where they had us against Tennessee, and like we played them
we
last.
played them
time.
before. And
it's just like a few years ago when we played Georgia in back-to-back
let's
years.
stop
So we
it.
played Washington twice in
Yeah.
the same year.
Yeah, let's.
They got to figure something out better than that.
Yeah, but we'll see. A lot of good stuff to come. That's all we got for you guys today. Thanks for joining in. We had quite a few people watching today, so
Good.
appreciate it. Appreciate the balance and the talk. We'll keep doing this again. We'll come back this next week and bring some more stuff. Kincaid will be here again, I'm sure.
He always is.
He always is. He likes to get his head in there. And then we'll bring William and any other guests that want to show up. Pooty said he's not going to go until Notre Dame's a national championship contender, and I said, well, we'll see you in a few years then, buddy. But I mean, it just anybody, Andrew, if you want to come on, I know Jason, it's a hell of a long ways for you, but
If you're in town some weekend or something,
come
we
on.
could even, Jason, if you're in town some weekend, we could get together on like Saturday morning or something and
Heck yeah.
do something,
Heck
whatever.
yeah, talk shit about Iowa. So, all right, guys. Well, appreciate you watching today. This is Two Average Guys. I'm Matt,
I'm Jimmy.
and that's just our opinion. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.
We will see you on Sunday.